Through. What is going on today? I think everything's good. I'm having some technological differences today, but that's okay. I think it's all right. Yeah, there were two. The music was doubled up because I had my live stream unmuted on YouTube. So I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just all, there's too much going on the screen at any one time for me. Anyway, yeah, so today we're going to be working on some stuff. I have a couple of bugs that I noticed last night when I was finishing up my goal of making 3 items. I could show you the infusion altar, which I shared on Discord. That actually ended up taking quite a lot of time because I needed to add various query improvements and all that stuff. But anyway, I'll go over all that in just a second. But first, I need to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting on Steam. It's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you can create your own builds using alchemy. So if that sounds good to you, definitely check it out. The Steam page has been recently updated, and the screenshots and the trailer will be updated here shortly as well. So definitely check that out if you're interested. You could also support on Patreon. As a reminder, I just lowered the price of the lowest tier here, the supporter tier, to $3 a month. That gets you access to ad-free videos, early playtests, exclusive content. I actually just uploaded another piece of exclusive content to Patreon yesterday, which is a time lapse of the cathedral with me talking about it a little bit. So yeah, you can join the Patreon and get those benefits. If you subscribe at the top tier here, I will actually send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, and your name will be in the Alchemortis credit. So as long as you subscribe here for at least 1 month to this sponsor tier, you will get those benefits specifically. And I also have my Udemy courses, which teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So check those out. Those are all the ways you could support me. Again, I am self-funded, so every little bit helps, but you could also help by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, following on Twitch, all that good stuff. All right. Good morning, Malicious Rabbit. Welcome. Good to see you. RN Genesis, welcome back. Hello, Emerson. Hello, Oxanu. Welcome, welcome. Classic, yeah. Hello, Alien Archer. Thank you. Welcome back. That's Obsidian. Yes. Yeah, this is Obsidian here. So there's a couple of things. So I'm not quite finished with this infusion altar. Let me show you. I wonder, is the infusion altar, is this in the game? Yeah, so the infusion altar of infusion. So projects to items that are both left adjacent and right adjacent. This item executes again 1 time. So this is the wording is a little bit weird, but this is a U-shaped card, as you can tell. And the idea is that it just massively buffs. It massively buffs whatever's inside that U shape there. So if I place a skeleton warrior there, you can see that this gains this projected ability. This item executes again 1 time. So I had to make a bunch of changes to the projection. So first, oh, this needs to be passive, right? Oh, I've got all kinds of problems now. So there's all kinds of problems that are piling up because of all the changes I've been making, but so basically this is an innate passive ability which will place projected abilities onto other items. So I introduced this new concept of passively projected abilities, which are abilities that are persistently placed onto other cards. So typically the way that projection works is that when the item executes, it puts the projected ability onto whatever items it's targeting, and then when those items that it targeted execute, that projected ability falls off. But now I have the support or I have the ability to support adding abilities in a persistent way. So you can see that this projected ability exists on this skeleton and we're not in combat. So this stays there as long as it's, meeting this requirement. If I move the skeleton out, that projected ability falls off, and I can also put something else here if I want to. So yeah, that's a new capability that we've got going on. What else? I think that's basically it. So the U shape is the new one. The fact that this target's just something that's in there. I do want to change how many ability slots are on this item because I don't want it to be too powerful. So let me think about this. Anyway, so yeah, we want to reduce the ability slots for Infusion Altar. That's done. Okay. Well, I feel like there was something else that I was going to talk about, but I guess not. I guess not. Oh well. IGN's latest Alchemortis review, too many skulls, yeah. Hello, Llama Toast, welcome back. Good to see you. Can you just not say sender item? We had this discussion on Discord last night, but the problem with center item is that we have to keep in mind that it is theoretically possible that any ability could end up on any other item. And so even with like innate abilities, right? An innate ability that by default can't be transferred to another item. What happens if I decide that I want to introduce the ability of the player to strip the innate status from an ability so they can have fun with like putting it somewhere else? Ideally, that would work in some way, that ability. And so that's why I chose like both. Well, the wording it's not even correct to begin with because it says both left adjacent and right adjacent. But what it's really doing under the hood is it's just taking that middle cell and checking the top adjacent cell. So it's just, I kind of hacked it together to get it to work. But in an ideal situation, the main problem with the query system right now that's making it a little bit difficult is that when I want to query multiple directions, the way that I do it is I just combine the flags together. So I say top adjacent or board inventory component.query directions dot bottom adjacent. And that is working as an OR. So that basically means that any item that is top adjacent or any item that is bottom adjacent will match the filter. What I don't have the ability to say is to do and, to require an item to meet all of the requirements. So I don't have a way of saying, hey, if an item is top adjacent and bottom adjacent, that's the one that you should target. So I think that's what I would have to do in the case of this Infusion Altar ability. Because the description says items that are both left adjacent and right adjacent, right? So ideally, I would have some kind of flag on the query options that would, instead of doing a union of all the sets, it would do an intersection of all the sets. Because the way that the querying works is it looks at the query flag and then it selects all the cells that are in accordance with that query. And then if I have multiple flags, it just keeps doing a union of that set of cells until I get the full list of cells that are all queried by that query object, right? But I want to change it to an intersection instead. So if I say, actually, would that even work? No, it wouldn't be an intersection. Yeah, it wouldn't be an intersection. Intersection would work in the case of this card in particular. Because if I said, okay, take the intersection of all left adjacent and all right adjacent cells, then the only time that there would be overlap would be inside of that U shape, right? So that's selecting the cells that are both left adjacent and right adjacent. But if I had an item, let's say I had an inverted U-shape item and I wanted to slot it in right here, that would technically be left adjacent and right adjacent at the same time. But based on how the cell selection works, actually that would work. I mean, yeah, this is like a special case, I guess. If we had a, let's say we had like a convex shape, you know, just like a normal rectangular shape, and I had like an inverted U, there'd be no way currently to like detect that it's on both sides of the item. So it's a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit tricky. I kind of just hacked it together, but picking a palette is tough. Every time I find one that seems interesting, I start to work with it and realize it's not quite doing what I want. Yeah, it is tough, yeah. Last day of the challenge, yes indeed. Can you check them sequentially? Like check if it's left adjacent, then right, then top? Like run 3 queries and then find whatever cell is a member of all 3 queries? Yeah, I think that would probably be the way to... Well, that's the same as the intersection, basically. But in the case of like, you know, a situation where I've got an upside down U shape wrapping this card, that wouldn't work. I think I'd have to do like a modified version of what you said. I'd have to do the left adjacent query and the right adjacent query separately. Find all the cards that are right adjacent and left adjacent, and then find the intersection of the card result, right? So it's not an intersection of the cell, it would be an intersection of the cards. So I would run the left adjacent query, right adjacent query. I would get 2 separate lists of cards that match that query, and then I would do an intersection on those sets to get the cards that are in both sets. I think that would actually be the way that I would have to approach it, now that I'm thinking about it. Which is a big... Is that a big problem? We're going to go off on a tangent, I suppose. Let's take a look at the querying here. So we've got this query here. Accumulated result. So we are querying the affected cells. We're getting the cards at the cells. Right, so it would have to be 2 components. It would have to be... I would need to do all of the query directions separately, so I'd have to get the set of cells for each configured query direction separately. Then I would need to fetch the cards, which are here, this accumulated result, get all the cards that match that particular query. And then after I have all of the sets of cards, I would have to do an intersection across those sets and then return the card. So yeah, there's going to have to be quite a lot of work going on here. An alternative thing to do too, which could apply to all cards, is make the white circles that are showing what cells the item affect and make it more apparently maybe like a little VFX, like a bluish flame or something. Something that moves to make it more obvious. Yeah, I could do that. Good morning, Chris. What have I missed? I've just been working on content. The thing that we're talking about now is this new U-shaped card, this Altar of Infusion, which also I support the ability to passively project abilities onto other cards. So yeah, but there's a whole bunch of problems here. Multiple keywords, keyword prefixes cannot be chained. For example, innate passive is not possible. I'll fix that as well. Anyway, I do have to do 3 new items. So this is the last day of the 10-day challenge to create at least 3 new items per day. But I want to do some other stuff right now. So one thing that I want to do is I want to reduce the ability slots in the infusion altar. Base ability slots is equal to cell count. Set base ability slots. Set base ability slots. What about this? Card factory if reagent. Else if base ability count is greater than card.ability slots. Let's do this. Card definition resource. We're gonna add export public int base ability slot override. We'll set that to -1 by default. Base ability slot override. And then in here, if card.base ability slot. Oops. Definition. Greater than or equal to 0. Do that, else if the card has a tag reagent, we're going to set it to the base ability count. Otherwise, we're going to set... Yeah, that works. Okay. So now what I should be able to do is I should be able to go to my card definition resource. So if I go to my infusion altar here, this one, base ability slot override should be 1. And then we'll see how that goes. There we go. All right. So the reason I wanted to... So this ability is really powerful. Basically, this makes the item that's inside of it execute again multiple times. And so if I add item infusion altar at tier 5, that projects this item executes again 5 times, which also may still be too powerful. But in order to prevent players from just easily stacking up additional projection abilities onto the empty ability slots here, we'll just reduce it so that it has 1 ability slot. If you want to get more ability slots, you're going to have to alchemize it. You're going to have to add ability slots with the gemstone and whatnot. But yeah. That appears to be working, so I should probably alchemize this too and make sure that that ability slot count gets carried over. I think it will. I think it will. But you can see the skeleton is dealing 4 damage 5 times every time. So yeah, this is probably going to be a very, very powerful item, but I'll nerf it later if I need to. But let's alchemize it. So let's put this in here. We'll just alchemize it with that. Oh, I got a legendary altar. It gained ability slots. Why did that happen? So I've been making a lot of changes to the game without like testing much, so I'm sure there's a bunch of new bugs in the game that I'm gonna have to address, but we'll break things and then come back and fix them later. Anyway, with that Unity AI new thing, are you getting more course sales? Udemy AI thing? No, my course sales are actually going down, probably because I haven't been paying too much attention to them, but Hello, Clickertail, welcome. Good morning, Nathan San, welcome. See the little parasite 1x1 item that attaches to an item to change the shape of the item. Oh, interesting. I'll put the imp ability on this. Good luck. Could put a tick on my skeleton dragon and drop it in the altar. Wow, yeah. A small card that has any queries, apply it, transfer over to the largest adjacent card. Yeah. Unity, not Udemy. Oh, okay. I don't know. Because Udemy also has an AI thing, so I'm confused. I haven't heard. I don't follow Unity very much, so I don't know what's going on. I'm just over here in Godot La La Land, just minding my own business. Ads with 30 seconds. Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so that's done. Warhorse description is wrong. The Warhorse description is very wrong, actually. Warhorse. So this needs to be description keywords dot capitalize, description keywords dot projects. This needs to be to query target provider. Oh, you know what? Ability builder, projectability config. Is it safe to do this? I actually don't know. We're just going to capture that. Probably not a good idea, but query target provider dot to query string template. Force card plural is equal to true. This will be template 0. I'm doing a bunch of weird things here. Projected shield. Whatever. This needs to be... Oh wait, I don't need to do that. Let me think. Internal shield.get description. No, projected shield. Get description. Exclude prefix is true. There's so much description stuff that needs to be fixed here, but anyway. We don't need this internal shield anymore. Do I need this? Oh, you know what? I don't need to do any of this. I can just do... Why am I doing any of this, actually? What am I doing? I don't need to do any of this. I really don't know. I think the Warhorse was maybe one of those weird in-between cards where it was like, I was kind of in a weird phase of ability support for the thing I wanted to do, so I had to do like a bunch of stuff, but then as the system got more mature, I just never went back and updated it, and then I came back to it, I'm like, why is it doing all this stuff? I think this is the way it's supposed to be now. So I generate the translation file. Did I not generate the translation file? Huh? Oh, maybe it's fine. Well, let's just go ahead and see, I guess. Add item Warhorse. Projects to allied minion items to the right, apply 5 armor. There we go. Look at that. I will just make sure that it works, that I didn't break anything. Yeah. I think the skeleton applied crit armor, didn't it? Yeah. Okay. Gradually getting everything fixed up. So I also want to add query target provider for Burning Witch for WFC and highlighting purposes. So I also, last night I started working on some updates to the enemy board generation. And I think the new strategy is pretty cool. So basically, there's a couple of things that I want to address. The enemy boards often feel very random and not intentional at all. And also they're too big, right? They're so big that you don't really want to spend the time to read all of the items that are available on the board. So my fix for that is to make the enemy boards more powerful by default and to shrink their size. And the way that I'm making them more powerful is I'm taking a new strategy to the wave function collapse algorithm. Basically what happens now, this is in progress on another branch. I haven't merged this in yet because I still need to do some work with it. But basically what happens now is a capstone item is chosen. And the capstone item can basically be anything. And the capstone item gets placed, and then there is a very, very heavy bias towards placing items that synergize with that capstone item, or that synergize with the items that were placed to synergize with the capstone item. And I can control the depth too. So I'm currently supporting just like 2 layers of synergy depth. But what that ends up doing is that creates enemy boards that feel a lot more intentional, and they're also a lot more powerful because the synergies are being leveraged almost maximally, basically. And so that's good, because if I'm going to shrink the board size down, I don't want to necessarily make that result in the combats being easier. So shrink the boards down, increase the smart synergies that the enemy uses, and then that should hopefully go a long way to solving those 2 problems. One, it's going to be easier to read the enemy items on the board because, there's just going to be fewer items. And then 2, the synergies are going to be a lot more apparent as well. And then, so yeah, I think that's good. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I have to do some testing with it still, but in anywho, var WFC query target provider. Query target provider dot create. Query options. No, this needs to be options. Options dot query directions is equal to board inventory component. query directions dot entire board. Okay. Options. Custom filter is equal to card. Card dot has ability of type fire. And then we're going to put the WFC. Okay. So the system is a little bit weird, but basically this witch, the Malva's Burning item, synergizes with fire applied by allied abilities, but the way that synergies are detected in the wave function collapse is that it actually looks for query target providers. Technically, it looks for iBoard queryable, which I think are only implemented. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Find all implementations. Yeah, it's only implemented in the query target provider. But it looks for iBoard queryable, and then that's how it determines the synergies. So it basically says, okay, this ability on this card has a query target provider. Does this card that I want to place match that query target provider? Does it pass the filters? If so, then there's a synergy there, right? But in the case of this ability, prior to adding this, there was no query target provider. So the system did not know that this ability is supposed to synergize with fire. Now, there may be a better way to do this. So this ability execution tracker, maybe this should be powered in some way by the query target provider, or by a query target provider, so that whenever I specify an ability tracker, it's just going to automatically indicate that there's a synergy there. So let me write that down. Ability execution tracker. Explore powering the filtering using a query target provider so that WFC synergies are automatically picked up. But anyway, let's go ahead and test that, and then we can go into making a new card again. Hello, Junie. Welcome, welcome. Let's go, more content. Yes, indeed. I added a Fairy Wings reagent. I don't know if you guys saw this. This swaps the cooldowns of the left and right adjacent items. Oh. I actually did that wrong. Oops. Right adjacent. So yeah, that's a new reagent you can get. So you can just swap the cooldowns around of things if you want to. Probably going to be very powerful. Although it's not, for example, it's not going to be useful if you're trying to like swap the skeleton dragon cooldown. Because there's no way to put something on the left side of it. So it is a little bit, situational, which is fine. But like I could take the Inquisitor here, and then I could do add item, hourglass. So this is a 10-second cooldown. This is a 4.8-second cooldown. So I swap those around. Oh, I got some corruption. That's all right. But this has a 4.8-second cooldown now, and this one has a 10-second cooldown. So that's a nice little reagent for you. That should be fun. Does the Death Orchid not increase the alchemy size anymore? I think it does. Yeah, it does. So it goes from 4x4 to 5x5. I don't know how useful that's going to be, honestly. So I may change what the Death Orchid does. But, I mean, it still can be... I think it could still be useful to get something this big, because then I could do something like this with the add item skeleton dragon. Like, this is going to enable alchemizing, like, really big cards together with some reagents as well. So I may keep it. But yeah, the alchemy board is larger by default now, so a lot of people mentioned that alchemy is hard to use with the size in the previous playtest, so I increased it. And I do think it feels better. And then the corruption mechanic too helps with the risk reward a little bit. You could swap this cooldown of a skeleton dragon with a small 1x1. Not at the default board size. The default board size is 4x4. So there's no way to put the skeleton dragon right adjacent or left adjacent and then have something on the other side of the fairy wings. You would have to use a death orchid first and then do it. But yeah, you could. You could. Oh, I was going to test the witch, right. Okay, so that synergizes now with those guys. Cool, I like that change. Awesome. Glad you like it. Oh, there's no relic items. Oh, does this count as fire? Oh. Okay. Goodness gracious, I have a lot of bugs to fix here. Anyway, fix some. Okay. Hello, Mel's. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. What's your strategy for helping new players better understand the game? I don't have one. I don't have one. Knowledge from other auto battlers transfers because Alchemortis has many more synergies and effects. It's harder to understand everything that's going on. Yeah. I still want to put like an in-game encyclopedia in the game. Something that goes into detail about how like the mechanics work. Specifically for people that want to go that deep on it. But that's kind of like a different thing than like the new player experience. Like asking a new player to go and read an encyclopedia is not ideal. You know, and then there's the question of like, yeah, it's not... It's a tough problem because I don't want to just sit there and explain everything to the player. Like, here's exactly how you play this game. What I'd rather teach the player is like generally how things work and let them figure out what abilities do. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Difficult games are an attraction as well, though. Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't want to... I think part of the fun of Alchemortis, I think, is going to be going, oh, wait a minute, is this going to work? And then you build your build together and you go, oh my gosh, that worked. You know, like that, I want the player to have those experiences. But that does take, like, there's a certain element of an unknown there, right? Like not knowing if it's going to work, having a hunch that it's going to work, thinking, oh, well, based on the wording, it should work. And then you do it and you're like, it does work, and you get like 500 billion fire damage and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that worked. Those are the kind of moments that I want to encourage. And I think those are going to come naturally for sure. But what I need to do is I need to get to the player to the point where they feel comfortable enough with how things are worded and how things work, where they can start thinking in that way, right? Like, okay, what happens if I put this item with this item, and like this item says that it does this certain thing when this happens, so I'm assuming this will work, and you put them all together. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, let's create some new items here. Snail rider. Carnivorous plant. Carnivorous plant would be kind of fun. I do need to add more enemy items though. There are 78 total enemy cards. Hello, Buffering the Epic. Thank you. Because of you, I'm doing something awesome. Great to hear. Great to hear. Now comes the tough part of trying to figure out what the heck to make here. As someone who has never played an auto battler before, Alchemortis is actually pretty easy to understand. Oh, that's good. Oh, this one is done. Cornerstone, Griffin, Unicorn, Foot Soldier. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to draw. Add a gun and call it a relic from the future. Okay. Do the sugar bowl. Start off with something easy. I could do salt too. Salt might be a good one. I could just do like a little sack of salt. Oh boy. Let's see, what kind of tags am I missing here? We need more relics, need more alchemical. Well, actually, we're almost roughly equal on ritual, weapon, and minion items. Oh no, weapon is 20. So relic, alchemical, and weapons are things that we need more of. All right, I'm just gonna do salt, whatever. Just gonna do salt, whatever. I think this will work. Maybe. Trying to get the shape right is going to be a little bit tricksy. Well, this is not going so well. Well, could do a type of magic wand that is an upside down T shape, 3 cells in the bottom with a twig branching up in the center. Type of magic wand upside down T shape. That could work. Hello, V pouch. Yeah, it's gonna be salt. I don't know if salt is gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be super easy to give that impression, but we will certainly try. We will certainly try. Well, that might work. I have no idea. Anyway. Maybe that looks decently of salt. I don't know. Yeah, we can add, just do a darker. That can work. I think that's fine. It's not, you know, it's not the most amazing thing ever made. It's not sliced bread, you know what I'm saying? But it's not sliced bread, but it does the job. It's no sliced bread, but it does the job. Okay. Hello, Uius. Slap the classic S in the middle. Any idea for the ability? No, not yet. Might be complicated, but I like the idea of increasing the effect of adjacent items by 1 level. Like salt enhancing the natural flavors of things you add it to. Let me think. How easy would that be to do? I don't think that would be easy. Hello, Rios. Welcome. Could just enhance the abilities of food items on the board. What plugin do you use for multi-streaming and getting comments one at a time? Well, multi-streaming is the multiple output plugin for OBS. And then for the chat, to combine chats from different platforms is Social Stream Ninja. Social Stream Ninja. So yeah, I think that will be... That's the setup I use anyway. Seems to work pretty good. I think the salt turned out decently. Okay, so now we need to do the salt abilities. So increasing something adjacent is a good idea. Wondering what that would look like though. The horse should be able to lick the salt. Makes the enemy salty, which decreases their efficiency. You know what I don't have is I don't have a whole lot of enemy items that apply bleed. We might need to focus on that. I mean, salt is not going to bleed, I'm just saying for like a future item. We have 3 enemy items that deal bleed and nothing that synergizes off of bleed. So maybe the next couple of items I should make should be bleed items. Swarm. Reword that ability explanation. Plenty of room for bleed weapons, yeah. Hello, Fortune Sort. Firebelly, how it turned out you also good in art, considering that your main background was in software development. I mean, your aesthetic taste is much better than the average pixel artist has. Well, thank you, I appreciate that. I don't know. I just wanted to learn pixel art, and then I did it. I mean, I think, you know, if you look at Gunforged, I don't think Gunforged is that impressive artistically, but that was like the project where I really started doing my own pixel art, and so there was a lot of learning going on there. And even during the development of this game, like for people who have been following for a while, you could see that my art has improved even during this project. So I think it's just a matter of like, it's just a matter of practice, at least for me. Like there's nothing special that I'm doing. I'm just like looking at my art and going, oh, that doesn't look quite right. And then like just trying new things all the time, trying new ways of shading things, trying new ways of drawing things. I'm still, to this day, you know, I'll watch pixel art tutorials or I'll like study the pixel art of other people. I think, you know, social media is great for that. Various social media communities for pixel art, where it's good to just like, you know, you just zoom in on somebody else's pixel art and you see like, how are they shading things? Like, how are they actually, like, what do the pixels actually look like up close? And just like absorbing that information and putting that into practice over a long enough period of time is how I got to where I am today. So it's just, there's nothing special going on. It's just routine study and practice, basically. A Bloodhound. Oh, that's a good one. Exsanguinating Blade. Bloodhound that deals damage that increases based on bleed stacks or something of the sort. Yeah, that could work. But we got to figure out what to do with salt first. All right, tell you what, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when I come back, we'll add a salt ability, and then we'll start on the next item, which will be a bleed item. So I'll be right back in just 3 minutes, and we'll continue on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the delay. Is salt frequently used in occult rituals or something like salt circles? Maybe it could deal extra damage if the player has undead or ghost items on the board. Yeah, I mean, I think something like that could work. How many things do I have that scale with undead? Let's see. We've already got several things that scale with undead, so... Oh my gosh. Cat, what is your problem? Go. Okay. All right, so... Yeah, I don't know. I might just do something simple, honestly. Maybe just like... I'm gonna do something boring, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do... Because I don't think this ability exists in the game yet, either. So what we'll do is we're gonna do armor per alchemical item or something. Something like that. Create options, board inventory options, entire board, alchemical, dynamic. Let's do const and base armor is equal to 1. Var current armor is equal to base armor. Var value scalar is equal to new value scalar, query target provider, current armor. No. Value scalar set multiplier, current armor, dynamic shield. I should rename this. Dynamic shield is equal to new dynamic magnitude ability, value scalar shield, query target provider, dynamic shield, shield per alchemical, scalar is equal to ability scalars dot get shield scalar, current shield equals scalar base shield, value scalar set multiplier. Okay. There we go. I love when the AI one-shots the description. Very nice. Card, salt, shield per alchemical. And then this would be current shield. Okay. There should be a pig enemy item that interacts with fungus cards, extra damage, or maybe something more interesting. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. Pig. Interact with fungus. Goodness, my cat is just sitting out in the living room, just meowing nonstop. Goodness gracious. But then when I let him in here, he scratches at the door because he wants to go out. It's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Okay, salt. Oh, I forgot to build the translations. Oops. Translations built. You let your cat go out with you. I mean, yeah, the cat is allowed to hang around. The problem is that he won't stop being annoying when he's in here. He'll just bring his shenanigans in here and then, you know. Apply 1 armor per allied alchemical item. Cool. Okay, so we need to modify this. Salt. We're gonna give it 34. Is enemy. Is flippable. Alchemical. Let's give it a little bit of a crit chance. Why not? Okay, I think that item is basically good. Sounds like typical cat behavior, yeah. That's cats for you. If they are in, they want to be out. If they're out, they want to be in, yeah. Maybe add an additional effect on salt that interacts with food tagged items. I may add the food tag. The problem is that, like, basically, a lot of the enemy or most of the enemy alchemical items are already food. So I would just be basically doubling up on the power without like adding anything interesting. Because there's like 1 or 2 enemy items that are alchemical that are not food items. So that's the problem. Do you have a food tag? No, I don't. Apply 1 armor per allied alchemical item. Okay. Add item. What is another alchemical item? I'm blanking. Oil sword is one of them. Okay, let's just make sure this works. And then we can move on. The salt actually ended up turning, it turned out pretty good. Can't really complain about that. Let's just make sure the scaling works. Yeah. Cool. Hello, scrawny boy. I found you first through your courses in Udemy. Amazing job you're doing. You inspired me to attempt to make my own game. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Fortune Sword, you're very humble despite the fact that some artists also have same artistic research. Eventually we get mad pixel art. Like it's an overlooting, but the game is so good to me. So I'm not flattering. Oh, okay. I got you. Overlooting, but the game is good to me, so I'm not flattering. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm happy with where my pixel art skills are going. I think I still have room for improvement, but I'm glad you like it. I have to take this call really quick. Sorry, everybody. All right, sorry about that, everybody. All right, so we need flavor text for the salt. I will do that later. We'll add this salt here. Might be complicated to explain, but can you do a rundown of how you have your items shifting around when you hover? I'm assuming you have... I'm assuming the item you're holding will do a query on the predicted cells. Yeah, so the way that it works in a nutshell is basically like, you hover an item over a cell that is occupied. And what that does, so there's a couple of components to it. So one, it stores a snapshot of the state of the board that it was in before it started shifting everything around so that it can restore the state, right? And so when you hover over an item, maybe it'll be better if I bring this up. When you hover over an item, it will detect overlaps, and an overlap is just a matter of saying, where is the mouse currently, and then where would all the cells end up? You know, so like if I overlap this skeleton warrior such that it's overlapping the bottom of that inquisitor, that detects an overlap. And so what will happen is it will say, okay, if there's an overlap, move the card that is being overlapped to the next available position. on the board. And then there are, that's just kind of like, it's done for as many overlaps as there are. So, for example, in this situation, if I move this over, it overlaps both Inquisitors, and so it moves both of them out of the way, right? So it's basically just finding the next available slot and moving them over. And if I'm not mistaken, how it works as well is that it can detect chains of things that need to move. If I'm not mistaken, can I get that to work? Trying to determine if this will actually move those things down. I mean, I think that's basically how it works. I think there is some logic there, like if a card cannot be moved out of the way, it tries to move a chain of items out of the way at the same time. But it's been a while since I've worked on that code, so I don't remember exactly what it's going. But the core idea is simple. And then the main part is just storing a snapshot of the state of where everything is placed on the board. So if the drag operation gets canceled, I can restore that state. But also what's happening is that I believe the state, so this is the state of the board here, right? So those cards are like that. So that's the state. And as I move things around, I think it snaps back to the default state and then moves things around again as I'm moving this around. So essentially it's always going back to like what its default state is, and then it's moving it again. Because you'll notice that like I can't push the Skeleton Warrior up 2 times. Instead it's saying, oh, I'll just move down because it's starting here, right? And if I overlap it on top, it moves down. But if I push it up, it goes up. But then if I go up again, it shifts down that way, right? So it's not like there's nothing that's maintaining like its current offset position. It's just always going based off of like where the item is hovered, move every overlapped item around to the next nearest cell. Now the thing that I am a little bit confused by, because again, I haven't written the code, worked on that code in a while, is that it seems to work even in here. So if I move this around, it will move things. Now I think that's just because, yeah, so it's not actually shifting like the immediate neighbors around. What's happening here as I move this guy around in this giant board is that there are empty board slots at the bottom here. So because the next available slot is down here, that guy is just getting sent, where was I? Oops, that bishop just gets sent down there, right? So it's pretty simple. It's just finding the next open slot and trying to move cards there. That's basically all it's doing. Udemy went haywire just now, just got to the ability animation part. Oh, that sucks. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, I think I checked Udemy this morning and it was like not working for some reason. Then any item that is occupying the predicted cells would attempt to move to open cells. Yeah. How do they avoid trying to occupy the same space that was previously available? Yeah, so I mean, they're still moved one at a time, right? So when you have 3 overlapping cards, the first card that overlaps will be moved to the open available slot, and that gets moved to the open available slot, and then its previous slot gets marked as free, and the new slot that it occupies gets marked as occupied. And so when I do the next overlap move, the state of that board, the sort of intermediate state of that board is saved, so that way those items will not be moved into slots that already exist, right? Or that already have been moved to, for example. So I mean, again, that's the reason why I'm like storing a snapshot of the board state, is because I'm actually manipulating the board state as that displacement is happening. And I can always restore to the original state if I need to. For example, if the operation gets canceled. And then, you know, updating the state is just a matter of like not resetting the state back to what it was initially, because the underlying board state is actually changing as those things are shifted around. So yeah, just fires a signal anytime your mouse is entering a new cell. Again, I don't really remember how that works. So the card mouse events manager, this is an auto load that, or not an auto load, it's It's basically a singleton. It's not technically an auto load, but this is what handles all the card dragging. And so all of the mouse events, hover, move, all that stuff go through the card mouse events manager. And so like I have, yeah, I actually don't know where that cell hover state is updating. Maybe it's not. Hold on a second. Board placement state, applied displacement. Where is this? Oh yeah, so this is just happening in a process method. So the card mouse events manager has a process method that's just constantly checking drag state and everything. And then so it's just constantly updating the mouse oversell. I don't have any signals related to this mouse oversell changing because this is just purely internal data to this card mouse events manager. So yeah, it's the card mouse events manager is actually the thing that manages the board displacement. The board is not responsible for managing the displacement. So basically, the card mouse events manager is basically responsible for placing everything that the player is going to place. So it's responsible for handling the mouse events, it's responsible for handling drag and drop, and it's responsible for handling the displacement of other items based on your hover state, basically. Will there be any useful system tutorials in the future? What do you mean by system tutorials? Was just curious to get prototyping a grid-based tower defense where the towers are individual parts of a kingdom. Towers, castles, homes, lakes, rivers. Oh, nice. Between this game and a game I played recently, Brewers of Khazad-dûm, grid-based beer brewer roguelike, I realized I liked grid-based games. Yeah, grid-based games are fun. They're kind of fun to make too, because there's a lot of systems that you have to create to support that. Anyway, we need to do some bleed stuff for the enemy. I think the like a bloodhound maybe would be a good one. What was some of the other suggestions? Maybe I'll put a bloodhound here. Salt is done. We can delete that. I mean, we could do a very basic thing like a dagger or something. I don't have a dagger in the game. Well, I have a ceremonial dagger, but we could just do a normal dagger. Let's just make a normal dagger. We'll call it good. I'm not really feeling up to drawing a bloodhound at the moment. Can you recommend Godot? I usually use Odin and Raylib. Yeah, I mean, I like Godot. I don't have any experience with Odin or Raylib, so I can't compare and contrast the two, but I'm always going to recommend Godot. Like, especially if you're just making simple games. I mean, I think you know, the nice thing about working with an engine is that you don't have to do so much boilerplate, right? Like you can, especially with Godot, I feel like you can get to the gameplay programming very quickly. And that comes with trade-offs, right? Like, you know, like there are going to be certain things that are inefficient in the engine, right? There are going to be certain constraints that you're going to have that would not be there if you were able to just like change your own engine code, right? And those are trade-offs that you make, but the trade-off that you're making is you're sacrificing a lot of the flexibility for like an out-of-the-box toolkit that is designed to get you to your gameplay programming faster, right? So I'm that kind of person. Like I don't like managing my own frameworks. I don't like creating like my own well, I haven't really created my own engine, but I don't like doing that kind of thing where like this fundamental system that drives everything needs my constant attention. I'm much more the kind of person like, let's go find the third-party tool that gives me like 90 or 95% of what I want, and that's going to come with certain trade-offs, right? It's going to have a larger memory footprint. It's going to not be super efficient in some cases, but my main concern is not creating the most efficient and lean piece of software possible. My main goal is like, I want to bring this game to life. Like I want to get this game up on Steam and out, right? And so, yeah, as much of the hard work, as much of the rote, like rendering work, input handling, physics, as much of that can be abstracted away from me as possible is my preference, right? And then the majority of my effort is just building the system specifically for my game, right? So that's how, I mean, but it's gonna, you know, it's gonna be a personal preference a lot of the times. But I'm not a fan of doing things at a lower level or like even at like a framework level. I just don't want to have all that work to do. You know what I mean? Having my coffee before I get into my own development session. How's everything? It's going well. Thank you. How are you doing? Welcome, Spirant Nihil. Welcome. Like grid-based inventory tutorial. Oh, with some more C# based course. Yeah, I may do more tutorials. Unfortunately, I just don't have that much time to do a whole lot of stuff with like tutorials and whatnot. Because I'm just focused. I just want to get Alchemortis out the door. And so yeah, I don't have as much time as I would maybe like to have to do tutorials and whatnot. It's just, you know, again, going back to trade-offs, it's like, would I like to do more tutorials for YouTube and whatnot? Yes, of course. But I would rather get Alchemortis out. This does not look like a dagger. Okay, maybe I just... Maybe this is the way to do it. Do this. Maybe this is not the way to do it. Oh, that's kind of a good idea, actually. Maybe I just make it... Shoot, I don't have enough pixels here to do what I need to do. Well, I don't know. See, the problem is that doesn't really look like a dagger. Well, let's just roll with it and we'll see what we can do. Wow. All right, let's just do it the quick and dirty way. Yeah, I just can't. It doesn't matter how I place the pixels, it always looks too chunky. I guess I'm just gonna have to... I'll just have to find a way to make it work, I guess. Let's see. I think that looks respectable, actually. The problem is that doesn't really fill up a whole lot of space either. This could almost be a 1x1 weapon. Interesting. I wonder, maybe I should make it a 1x1 weapon. Let's see. Let's see if I can shrink it down even more. Shrink that down. Shrink this down. It's not quite gonna be able to fit in a 1x1. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Let's copy this. We're just gonna throw this into a new file. We'll just paste that there because I like that shape. Let's go ahead and delete all of this dagger stuff. Discard all 8 files. We'll delete this. Okay, and we're gonna do this again. 1x1. Having a 1x1 weapon is actually kind of an interesting idea. I don't really have that anywhere, so this would be cool. Looking at all your systems is very daunting when I think about doing something similar. Yeah, I think the main thing is, like, as long as you keep everything modularized and make everything have very distinct responsibilities, ideally one responsibility, if you're properly, like, siloing all of your systems, then it becomes a lot more manageable. But yeah, you essentially have a box of Legos now you can snap together. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like once you've genericized the solution, it becomes really easy to add new cases, generally speaking. So for example, when I added that U-shaped card, the infusion altar, I had to add a new 3x2 U-shaped card background, right? But my system is already generic such that it matches everything up based on the card configuration. And so I just need to add the 3 new, like I have a border mask, I have a mask, and then I have the actual art here. And that's all I need to do, and I just need to name it properly. But once that's in place, I don't need to do anything else. Like, I just need to define in my card definition resource, like what the bounding box is, which is the dimensions, and then which cells are missing from within that bounding box. So this is a 3x2 card, and then the cell that is at 1x, 0y is empty. And it just takes that information and it can automatically find the proper card background for that item, and then all the rest of the systems already work based on this information. So adding new card shapes has been made generic to the point where, like, I just draw the art and that's all I need to do, and boom, the shape is supported. Like, it's nothing, there's nothing special, you know what I mean? So if you can get your systems like that, where you've got like a generic solution that's just very easy to extend, it becomes a lot easier. I've been watching your videos for a good while now, but just started to get into your lives. YouTube never recommended them to me before. Oh, dang it, YouTube. YouTube is trying to keep me suppressed. Okay. So we could do something interesting here. Like that, or I can move it down. What would that look like? I could even make it even stubbier, maybe. Would that be too much? Oh, so close. Kind of looks like a candle now, but I think once I add the shading, it should be fine. And we could actually make it... Yeah, why not? Let's just see what this does. Yeah, I think I like that, and then this will just be a matter of darkening this. Yeah, this will work just fine. All right, there we go. We have a dagger. I think it's decent. Maybe this is a little bit thick. What happens if I thin it up? What happens if I thin it up a little bit? That might actually be better. Now this is a little bit too thick, but you may be able to get away with making it like that. Let's get rid of this. Let's make that. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. I think we did it. We finally did it. But the other game idea I want to make is going to be heavily grid-based, but for different reasons. So the TD game could help develop more skills and knowledge with grids. Yeah, absolutely. This game is going to be fire, take your pace. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Maybe one of those wiggly daggers. That could have worked, yeah. Probably want like 50% blade, 50% hilt for a dagger. Yeah, I think it works. I think it works. A Chris dagger. Well, a Chris is still, if I'm not mistaken, it's still a generic term, right? Does it always mean squiggly? Maybe it does. But anyway, I don't think I have enough room to make it squiggly anyway, and I think the way it turned out, it's like a short barrel dagger. I like it. But a Chris, I mean, I can still do another dagger type. A Chris, you know, I don't need to be like, no, I already have a ceremonial dagger, so I can't do any other types of daggers. You know what I mean? I think it's fine. We can do multiple types of daggers. I think a Chris would be more appropriate for the player because it looks a little bit weird. Modular system was what I'm talking about. Yeah. Hello, Ninja Link. I do think that, you know, I would love to do a tutorial on like a grid-based inventory system because I feel like I see people creating inventory systems all the time, especially for some reason, like this is something that beginners often run into is like, I think it's because they want to make like some kind of RPG or survival crafting game or something. But the inventory system always trips people up. And so, and I've even seen like people who do tutorials on YouTube where I'm like, I don't know if I would have implemented the inventory system that way, you know? So I would love to do that. There was one, what inventory system did I make? I made an inventory system for one of my prototypes, and I think that was like the best part of the prototype was like how the inventory system was structured on the, like, just from the code standpoint. But basically, I mean, I think I've said this before, but the way that I typically approach designing my systems is I design them as if they're almost as if they are a third-party library that's being pulled into my project, which means that I have to make all of their functionality self-contained and then expose a bunch of APIs to modify that. And that gives you, like, if you approach making your game systems with that mindset, that kind of steers you into like properly modularizing things. And it also gives you control over how the state of various objects can change, because the only way to change the state of different things is to interact with the API that you've created, right? And you can do all kinds of things with your API, right? Like you can require very specific arguments, you can throw errors or push warnings when something happens that shouldn't happen, and then all the internal state is maintained, and you can emit signals whenever an internal state is changed so that you can respond to that elsewhere. Yeah, anyway. Don't think the previous version of the dagger is bad. That's good. I like how it turned out, though. It's time for game day once again. Sawed-off dagger, yeah. Anyway. So we're just going to make the dagger probably do bleed. I mean, this is just a 1x1 item, so we'll just do ability builder dot bleed. We'll give it quite a bit of bleed, actually. No, let's not do that. I'm going to actually do damage as well. So this is going to do like 3 damage per hit. And we're going to make it relatively fast, actually. Oh, did I not export the art? Dagger. There we go. Okay, so it's a 1x1. Let's give it a 3-second cooldown. Is enemy, is flippable. This is a weapon. And it can appear 0 to 1. Okay, let's build, or no, let's build the translations. I'll run the game. Hello, El Dorado. Hope I said your name correctly. Welcome. Good to have you here. Welcome to the stream. Add item dagger. Look at how tiny it is. It's so cute. Yeah, so it's doing 3 damage per hit because it's applying bleed. Oh, it's actually doing quite a bit of damage. It's leveling off at 5 damage per hit, so it ramps up a little bit. That's actually quite a nasty item. That might be too strong, but let's just up the cooldown just a little bit. We can balance everything later, it's fine. Alrighty. Alright, we need more bleed items. So we're going to call that good for the dagger. Let's see. Love the color palette. Thank you. I do too. Welcome, Rai Rai Pie. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Got a lot of new people here today. This is wonderful. Okay, we need one more enemy item that can apply bleed, and then we'll have hit the goal of 3 items for today, and we can call the challenge complete. So for context, for the people that are just coming into the stream today, I set a challenge for myself to add 3 new items to the game per day for 10 days, and that started on April 26th. And so if I hit my 3 item target today, I will actually be over budget. So, because on some days I did 4 items. So based on this, it looks like I'll probably have 31 items instead of 30, because I did 2 on May 2nd, 2 on April 30th. So that's essentially evens out to 3. So yeah, there's only, if you even it all out, there's only 1 extra. And actually I could just stop here and I would have 30. I could just say, oh, I'm done, I met my goal. But I do want to see if I can get over 30 for today. But 30 new items in the game doesn't sound like a lot, but there were previously, well, let's just take a look. Card statistics tool. So there were previously how many items in the game? So we have, subtract 2 from each of these. So what is that, 186? So yeah, we were around 150 items when I started, and now there's 180. So this count is weird because there are some items that are being counted twice because they're for both factions, the player and the enemy. But yeah, what is a 30 item increase from 150 is actually quite a significant percentage increase, which is pretty good. But again, the end goal is to get somewhere around 300 to 400 cards for release. So I still have 120 plus items to make by the time release, but if I just keep consistently adding items to the game over time, we should get there. What tools do you use to make the backlog? It's Obsidian with the Kanban plugin. Thank you. Found you last night. I'm a software engineer, but trying to pivot to making games because, well, AI sucks. Oh, there you go. Well, 30 out of 300 and 400 is still a sizable chunk. Yes, it is. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, welcome. Glad to have you here. We need one more item for enemy bleed. I mean, we could do the Bloodhound. I think I'm probably gonna fail at that if I try that. I find it really difficult to draw like dogs for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why that's so difficult, but hello, Massive Aggressive. Welcome. I'm gonna say a word and I hope that I don't. Let me look it up first. Oh, I was thinking a bodkin, but a bodkin like tipped bolt or something is for armor piercing. Not bleeding. What would be a good bleed? Oh, look at Alchemortis. Oh, dang it, it went away. I love that capsule art. I'm so happy with that capsule art. We can make the hurdy-gurdy do bleed. Like the person's playing it so bad that your ears bleed. Maybe like a bear trap? You can't have a video game if there's no bear traps in it, you know what I mean? Like I've never seen a bear trap in real life, but they're ubiquitous in video games. We could do a bear trap. And the bear trap could do probably something like something like paralysis and bleed or something. Sounds like an enemy item. Yes, it is. Yeah, we're doing bleed. Did I say player? We're doing bleed items for the enemies. So the enemy should have synergies or should have the ability to do basically everything except for poison. So there's an asymmetry between there's at least one asymmetry between the player and the enemies. The enemies are the only ones that can get holy, the holy status naturally, and the player is the only one that can get the poison status naturally. But every other status is shared, or every other damage type is shared. So both sides can do blind, both sides can do confuse, both sides can do damage, armor, fire, all that stuff, right? All right, let's see. Hopefully I don't embarrass myself. File, assets, card, bear trap. All right. So for the bear trap, it's going to be a little bit difficult. That looks terrible already. Wow. Now the problem here is that I'm not going to be able to draw the spikes very effectively. Let me think. Maybe I do the perspective a little bit differently then. Yeah, I do. Let's see. I'm thinking maybe I just kind of like cheat a little bit and I do like a closed version of it. Oh man, I don't know how this is going to go. I do not know how this is going to go. No, this is not going to work. Okay, I don't think I can draw a bear trap. What in the heck? Okay, let's try a different approach. I'm going to try to make it dead simple for myself. We'll just do, oops, we'll do dead simple. What? See, I don't really like this either because I don't really have... I mean, maybe that works. I don't really have... What am I trying to say? I don't really have room to draw spikes, but maybe that's okay. I mean, and I was just gonna do like little chain over here. Something like this. Is it worth extending this a little bit? Let's see. I could probably make this work. I can make this work. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not exactly what I originally wanted in terms of the perspective, but we can make this one work, I think. Okay. I think that'll do it. I think that will work. Okay, so let's do... I'm just going to start shading it a little bit. We'll see how this goes. So we're going to kind of... Let's create some separation there. Okay. Yeah, that seems fine. Side profiled bear trap might be easier. Should take up more real estate for a 2x1. What if you drop flat along the floor of the card? Draw from the side. I think these are old chats. Sorry, I didn't see those. Now, if you alchemize a sweet roll with a bear trap, you get an angry trap bear, yeah. Use a pink instead of the fuchsia for the joints, or even purple. Pink? There is no pink. But I think I can sprinkle in some different colors for sure. I don't like that. I'll worry about the colors in a second. Yeah, I'll play with the colors in a second here. The shading is always top notch, really brings it to life. Thank you. Yeah, I think it'll get there. It'll get there. Chains are always hard for me to do. As well. But again, we're not trying to be super perfect about this. The main thing that we want to achieve is the impression of a chain. I think that looks fine. I mean, the chain could be better, but it's all right. Now I kind of like the idea of a large trap with a cutout. With a cutout slot in the middle, and if you drop a food item there, you'll attract a new 3x3 large bear card. That would be cool. New stage 2 item idea. That would be cool. Been studying the Impressionists. Which century? No. Am I allowed to say that I am not impressed by the Impressionists? Is that an opinion that's forbidden to have? No, I don't like how this is going. Well, I think it's probably fine. I don't think I need to spend so much time on this. I wonder if just adding some extra... No, this is probably not going to do much. Actually, I kind of do like that. Let's see. Okay. Sprinkle in some reds. Okay, I think it's fine. I don't know, I don't need to spend so much time on it. Art style is so cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Do you do 3D as well? No, I don't. I want to learn 3D at some point, but I'm just trying to stick to what I know and what I'm learning and not give myself so much at once to deal with. Like 3D, doing 3D is a whole different skill set, right? Like you need to do the modeling, or at least know your way around a 3D model, and then you gotta do the textures. But then it's not just like the model and the textures, it's also like creating a coherent, beautiful environment in 3D. It's just really difficult, I think, because like you have to handle the fact that typically in 3D games players can look in all different directions. I mean, of course there are like isometric 3D, but you know, I think the point still stands. Like with 2D, you are creating a very like curated experience, right? It's like, this is the game. And I think it's just a lot easier to manage the art and the visual presentation in 2D. I think if I tried to make a 3D game, I think it would look very jank and very amateurish. Matter of fact, it's forbidden to not like the Impressionists. I gotta say, you get more impressed by the Impressionists with a bit of, oh, I see. I see. Nice bear trap. Thank you, Eternal Spectre. I think you hit gives the impression of a bear trap. That's basically, yeah, that's basically all I'm trying to do, right? Optimizations in your models as well, how they're rendered. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do want to get into 3D. I just need to figure out, if I went into 3D, what I would do for sure is I would do like a low poly style with pixel perfect like UV textures, so that I could still leverage my pixel art skills to the extent that they are skills and do the textures that way. And then I would probably not go overboard with lighting or anything either. I'd probably just do very flat lit, you know, and use the color palette to create, to drive the art direction, right? Instead of like trying to use a bunch of lighting and post-processing effects. So if that would probably be like, if I went into 3D, that would probably be the step that I would take. So try to leverage as many of the skills as I have currently, introduce the minimally necessary new skills, so that way I'm not like trying to do all these new things at once. You know what I mean? I do have an idea though for another game I want to make after Alchemortis. So now it's going to be between the single player extraction shooter that I wanted to make, and this other game idea that I have, which has been stuck in my mind since I thought of it. But we'll see. Gotta get Alchemortis done first. I think your first 3Ds may look rough, but then as you learn with baby steps, you'll make it look good. I'm trying to pull off fake 3D, and I think it looks pretty cool. Normal map on 2D sprite with some light movement looks good. Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, you could learn a lot about lighting just in a standard 2D environment. So what I've been liking some 3D model shorts I've been seeing is using gradients to simulate shadows. Oh, interesting. I think it looks clean. If you did 3D pixel art, would you use Crocodile 3D to do it? Yeah, so I found out about Crocodile quite a while ago. And ever since I found it, I've always been like, man, I would love to like tinker with this and use it, but I've just never gotten to that point. But yeah, Crocodile would be really cool. Really fun to use, I think. But I don't know anything about it, so I'd have to, I mean, I know the gist of it, but I don't know how to use it. A Necromancer survival game sounds fun. Yeah, well, actually the idea that I had was like it would actually be more of like a Souls-like game, which I know is an eye-rolling term, but basically just, you know, action-oriented combat with stamina management, dashing, all that stuff. But there's an idea that I have that I think makes it pretty unique, which I don't want to reveal just yet, because I don't know. What about 1D games? Trying to think of what a 1D game would look like. I mean, it would have to be just like on a line, right? Could you make a compelling game that happens on just a line? Might be an interesting challenge. So just added a bleed ability to this, and then we have query target provider.query directions. Board inventory component.query directions.entire board. Query target provider.query options.tag filter. Oh, it already is doing all that stuff. Okay. I actually don't need to do that. Okay, pretty simple little bear trap there, but we can also edit it here. So 2x1. This is an enemy, we'll make it flippable. This is a weapon. And we'll make it go to regions 0 to 1. Build the translations. We should see the bear trap paralysis. Bear trap, okay. Let's run the game. See how it goes. So it just bleeds and paralyzes. Nice. All right. Cool. We still need the flavor text, but do item here. Okay. All right, well, I'm not technically done with these items because I need to add the flavor text, but that's going to be relatively easy. So the challenge is complete. So what did we end up with? Let's see. I think 31 items, right? 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 4, 2. So there's 2 pairs of 4s that match up with 2 pairs of 2. That makes 3. So that means that every day was 3 items except for May 1st, which had 4. So yeah, that should be 31 items. 31 items in 10 days. It's done. It's finished. 4D games, 5D chess. Side-scrollers have potential to be 1D. Only have the potential to be side-scrollers, yeah. Music games as well. Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. It'd be an interesting thing. Anyway, we did it. We did it. And now I can move on to all the other issues that have been piling up in the game. But that's going to be it for the stream today. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Alchemortis is available on Steam for wish listing, so check it out. The link is below. You can check out the description. It tells you all about the game. If it sounds good to you, please give it a wish list. You can also support on Patreon. As a reminder, I did lower the lowest supporter tier price, so it's a little bit more reasonable, I think. And I'm going to be uploading a lot more exclusive content to Patreon going forward. So if you want to see all that kind of stuff, the kind of exclusive content that you'll see on Patreon is like pixel art time lapses. I'll probably do some very informal deep dives. If there's interest, I would be I would be okay doing like a Q&A question if you want to like ask Godot related questions, and I could do a video answering those things, whatever you want to see. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot more Patreon exclusive content going up going forward, like I said. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for being here. What would a terminal text only game be considered? That's a good question. Gemstone 4 growing up, I still like to go back to it now and again. Interesting. All right. Anyway, thanks again, everyone. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. All right. Bye-bye.